Hello, so I have made it to Rhiannon's and we are now finally, oh my god.
And breathe, we're here.
Finally doing our Facebook Live about stress, which we said we were going to do on Saturday. It didn't happen, now we've moved it to Monday.
Talk about stress.
Stress, yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm feeling like a little bit like a sweaty drowned rat.
She always looks good, so believe me,
but anyway,
fine.
Such is life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope this is a good time for everyone, like 7 o'clock on Mondays.
Yeah, 7 o'clock's a better time, because obviously you've all got home from work, and even if you've had a stressful day, we're here to kind of share what we kind of devote to being ways of coping with stress, kind of fitness and nutrition side of what it's all about, really. We've all got some points to cover, haven't we?
Absolutely. So actually my kind of stance is, while stress can be, you know, it can have its negative effects, and Rhea is definitely going to touch on the negative effects of stress on the body.
Yeah.
My stance is how exercise can boost, bust stress. No, what's the word? That's not the word.
No,
it can basically alleviate the symptoms of stress and help you to cope with stress, and it can become a stress mechanism. And I've actually found some amazing research studies which have shown the benefits of exercise on alleviating stress, and actually things like when stress progresses, things like anxiety, depression, and all those kind of progressions that can start as just, you know, an overwhelming feeling of stress. So I'm going to talk about the positive, you know, how to deal with it and how exercise can tackle that.
Exactly.
Ree's going to talk about the negative effects of stress,
and also how to cope with it in your diet. So also how to deal with it and what you should be doing to help alleviate it internally in terms of the body, because stress causes a lot of damage. So yes,
absolutely. So do you want to kick off with your first point?
Yeah. Okay. So stress. Often in terms of nutrition, it can lead to cravings. Now, this could be an emotional kind of comfort. You're feeling stressed. You're thinking, oh my goodness, I need something high in fat, sugar, high in salt. And this is all because those types of food release the feel-good kind of signals inside our body. So you're not alone. It's a natural response. Everybody, Alice and I were literally talking about it on Saturday, how everyone turns to kind of a bit of comfort food in that sense. But the worst thing you can do, I'm just going to throw it out there, is probably end up skipping your meals, because if you're skipping meals, you're then affecting your blood sugar levels, and you're going to make those cravings even worse. So my first tip is to stay hydrated and maintain, if you can. I know it's hard, and I'm going to discuss appetite in a bit, but try and maintain your regular eating patterns and get a big variety of food in there. Lots of vitamin C, vitamin E, antioxidants that help protect internal stress, you know, help fight it all off, those free radicals, and try and stay on top of your game, even though it's hard, because it's just going to help long term.
Yeah, I mean, I literally had this conversation with one of my clients today, and we were basically talking about stress, and I was saying I was doing a Facebook Live about stress tonight. And I think what's really important, and what I'm trying to impress on my clients, is that we can't avoid stress.
No.
It's not something that you can actually physically control. Sometimes external factors can just cause you to get stressed, and there's nothing you can do about it. So what I say to my clients is, okay, well, that's going to happen. We're going to get stressed. It's going to happen.
Every day.
That's a part of life. And actually life would be a bit weird if we didn't get challenged and get stressed by things. But if you can find out your coping strategies and your coping mechanisms that are your way of dealing with things, not anyone else's, not what anyone else does, but what you do to deal with stress, that is really important. And if you find that, you know, around stressful times, and I can certainly relate to this, that absolutely when I'm stressed, the first thing I want to do is just eat and eat and eat. I do. I'm just one of those people.
So if I can comfort food,
if I can find those mechanisms or understand and recognize those triggers, I can avoid those situations a little bit better. So I think it's about, you know, Rhea definitely always talks about taking that second just to be like, I'm feeling really stressed, and therefore it's making me want to eat, I don't know, whatever.
Or change environments.
Take that 2 seconds, deep breath. What is it you're actually stressed about? Debrief it, break it down. What are you really feeling? And sometimes even just having that moment to pause and acknowledge those feelings before you go and just open the fridge and eat all the contents, which believe me, I have done. I think that can really, really help. So acknowledging what the stress is and noticing the triggers that have led to that. So what's triggered you to get to that point?
It's called the stop and pause technique, but that is a hard thing to implement, because sometimes when you're in that moment, just actually challenge yourself for 15 seconds, then 30 seconds, and then a minute, and try and stop for as long as you can when you're in that zone, and then challenge yourself to move to a different room in the house, perhaps, and have a glass of water. Little things you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important where you said just keep your regular meals.
Routine,
I think when stress leads to us being really, really busy, which is often what people connect to stress, so being really busy times, I'm really busy, therefore I feel stressed. If you do miss those meals, I find, and this is just from personal experience, when I've gone a long period because I've been running about for meetings, I've been doing this, and then you stop and you're ravenous, that is the time when I just sort of am like, oh my God, I just need to eat anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's about understanding that, and for me being like, okay, I need to make sure that I've got snacks to have with me on the go that I can eat throughout the day, so that I don't get to that point where I'm like overwhelmingly hungry. Yes, you can be busy, and yes, you can not have time to sit down and have a proper meal. That happens.
Be prepared, because Alice is always prepared. Yeah, she knows she's got a busy day.
Yeah, those days happen. Like they're unavoidable sometimes, but being prepared can help you to avoid those kind of situations. Okay, so on the flip side of things, I want to talk about stress and a couple of studies. So one thing that I found is that in a study where there was 30 people and they were put through, they were broken into groups, sorry. So there was 3 groups. One was a moderate exercise group, so they were just moderate exercise. We're not talking going hell for leather in the gym 5 times a week. We're talking going for a 20-minute walk 3 times a week. Very realistic and achievable exercise incorporated into people's weeks. One group received social support, so that's sort of like counselling and very much down the therapy sort of route, and one was a control group, so they received nothing. Okay. Sorry, I forgot to say, all of these people were suffering from depression. The outcome, almost double the people that did the moderate exercise, they achieved better results, almost double the kind of improvement in their symptoms than those in the social support group and those that did nothing. So it just shows you how effective exercise can be at alleviating, I'm not going to go down the route of depression, but I think it's an interesting way to kind of relate it to stress, which can play a part in that, is that exercise can be an amazing alleviator of those symptoms
and a lifter of mood.
Definitely. I mean, there's different theories to the benefits of exercise, but from stuff that I've researched, of course, the endorphins that are released when you exercise, and the feeling of that kind of, they call it runner's high, or that gym high, that feeling where you've gone and done a really good workout and you feel amazing.
I love that feeling.
And everyone can sort of relate to it. I think if you have had a really good workout where you feel great, exercise can be one of those ways that if you're having a stressful day, going and just having a gym session can be the best thing, just to kind of almost just let you just have that high that you need, and let it out, let go of the stress, and enjoy, and kind of remove that stressful situation. The other thing is an interesting thing, and I don't know how far the research has gone yet, so I'm not 100% want to put claims to this, but I've read something that said an exercise leads to an increase in the availability of the brain neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, which is leading back to what you were talking about in terms of the pleasure we get from food, and those become diminished when you're stressed. Yeah. So it can lead to an increase in those neurotransmitters and those signals being fired, and so therefore making you feel happier. So I think
because serotonin is your happy hormone.
The one that makes you smile. So I think it's really important to understand that exercise can be an amazing tool to use to try and combat stress. So if you are one of those people that finds that you're going through your week, and I've got lots of clients in high stress jobs, like long hours, hard work, just going for a 20-minute walk.
I was going to say,
I'm not asking for you to do, like I said, I'm not saying go hell for leather in the gym.
Even fresh air, I think, can really
absolutely
help.
And I think just taking time to raise your heart rate, get those endorphins going, feel a little bit freer, change your state as well. So don't be at your desk all day. If you found that you're having a stressful day as it is, sitting and eating your lunch at your desk, is that really the best thing for you? Is that really going to help you alleviate your stress? Remove yourself from the situation, change your state, have a bit of fresh air, especially as the weather's getting better now. Get outside, and that can be one of the best things to kind of and see if that does help you. Because I'm not going to sit here and say it's the golden ticket to everyone's stress relief.
People, it makes a big
difference. Give it a go, because if you never try, how are you going to know?
Yeah, no, completely. Everything Alice just said, getting out, fresh air. I often find if I'm at my desk all day, if I get outside just for 15 minutes, if I can, I feel like a whole new person when I get to work. So great point. Exercise, yes.
Good. Yeah. Next point.
So this is quite an interesting one. Now, Harvard Health Publications had a look into the effects of cortisol and epinephrine. So just to explain to you all, you've got kidneys. On top of your kidneys, you've got tiny little glands called adrenal glands. Now, these adrenal glands play a major role internally inside your body in stress.
You've all heard of adrenaline, so it's basically,
this is what we're going to explain. So in short-term stress, so when you're stressed for a short period of time, you basically release adrenaline, whereas in periods of long-term stress, you release cortisol. And I mean chronic stress. That's every single day. It's not going away. You're feeling anxious. You're on edge. Now, the health implications of short-term and long-term stress are different. So in short-term stress, with adrenaline release, sometimes your appetite can disappear. You cannot be hungry. And that can have an adverse effect because, again, you actually need to be eating, but you've just lost all your appetite, because that also happens to people. Sometimes it's so overwhelming that you just don't want to eat. And that's a natural result of that. And then secondly, if it's long term, you find that cortisol has a knock-on effect on stimulating your hunger hormones, so things that make you hungry, and your appetite soars through the roof. So sometimes it's unexplained why you lose your appetite or why you're very hungry. Just know that it's a biological mechanism to help you survive back in the olden days. That's what it is. And the best way to manage that, once again, is carbohydrate and proteins at every single meal, just so you can help produce that happy hormone Alice mentioned, your serotonin. We love the happy hormone. And regular meals. Like I said, skipping meals is probably not the best idea. You want tons of colour in your diet, as always. And just be aware that if you're chronically stressed, you need to do something. And I would highly recommend seeking, even if it's not fitness and nutrition health, even if it's going to meditate, even if it's seeing someone else or talking to a friend or doing anything, chronic stress is very, very dangerous internally for the body. So negative stuff aside, let's push that over there. We all go through periods in our life, but we all need to seek something and make sure we change it.
Absolutely. I'm just reading some of your comments, sorry.
Oh, good.
Someone's asked where my jacket is from. This is from Lululemon,
so
and I actually just got it. If you go onto my Instagram stories, I've just done a little talk about it, but big shout out to Amy Hopkinson, who invited me down this evening to the Lululemon event, because I am walking away in a
great is that?
fresh jacket, and I love it. So
it's
thank
nice
you.
And it's soft.
Sorry to choose the subject, but anyway, right. So I am just going to move on. So an interesting study as well. So I always say, as part of my ethos, that there's not one way of exercising that I want to promote. Whilst I strength train and I really love it and I feel the benefits of it, I absolutely have admiration for those that like to run, that like to go to Zumba, that like to do any form of exercise.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to promote you guys moving your body and just getting exercise into your week in whatever way you enjoy and whatever way you are able to adhere to and stick to. So just to get that out there. And I think to back that up, what's really important is that there was a study done where which showed both the effectiveness of aerobic and non-aerobic effect on exercise at reducing the symptoms of stress. So it looked at 40 depressed women. One did resistance training and one did walking. One group did like a control group. And I think out of those three, both the walking group and the ones that did the resistance training, so showing that walking and resistance training, they both saw a sufficient reduction in the symptoms of their depression. Right. So I think that's really important to enforce that, you know, we see social media and we see all of these ways of training being amazing.
Could be HIIT, could be
exactly. If stress is something that you find you're suffering from and you find it actually more stressful to think, shit, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to plan that, I've got to pack this, don't stress. Remove that stress. Just understand that either aerobic or non-aerobic, so basically, you know, going for a walk, going for a run, or resistance training, if that's something that you enjoy,
or yoga,
both are beneficial at tackling your stress and both have shown to reduce the symptoms of stress. So to take that pressure off yourself, and again, as with my ethos, just do something that you enjoy, because that in itself is going to make you feel better.
And you can stick to it long term rather than punishing yourself if you don't feel you're loving it and then not going back.
Exactly. So yeah. By the way, it's worth saying if you guys want the links to any of these studies, please let me know. We can put them below. So they are all really interesting, but if you want the links, then please do let me know. There's so many.
Oh, the next point, I found this really interesting, is that as women and as males, I don't know how many guys are out there watching this, and females, women apparently, according to Harvard, turn to food when we're stressed. Men are more likely to turn to alcohol and smoking when they're stressed.
That is, yeah.
So we all have our own unique way of coping with things, and even evolutionarily speaking, we cope with stress differently as a male and a female. You know, men are from Mars, women from Venus, whatever. But how you deal with it accordingly. And in a nutritional perspective, one top tip that I really want to stress to you, oh no, too much stress, is to make sure that you're protecting your body and nourishing it within. So like I said, hydration, anti-inflammatory foods, so things that are not going to put further stress on the body, and things that are going to give endless benefits, like things rich in omega-3, so things like salmon, oily fish. Make sure you get some nuts in regularly. These also help with cardiovascular health. Oats in your diet are really good. Avocado, just lots of different foods that are going to really help nourish your body inside out, rather than putting in processed stuff. Or I know it's so tempting when you're feeling so low, like I did it the other day, just to have some kind of, I don't know, chocolate bar or granola bar or whatever. But sometimes the knock-on effect half an hour later to that, with the massive blood sugar high and low, makes you feel even lower. And I was way better off making my favourite chocolate porridge bowl over that. Now, in an ideal world, this isn't going to be an option for everyone, but just try and keep thinking, what is my food giving me? Don't ever feel bad for eating food when you're feeling emotional. Just think, is this food giving me something good? Then yes, then it's good for my body. This is amazing. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the stuff that food brings.
I think that's probably all. Moving on.
Yeah.
Just last thing I just wanted to say, I think it's really important that exercise for me, so things like there's been a rise in the popularity of HIIT and quite high intensity training, that puts quite a lot of stress on the body, on the heart, on the it's raising those cortisol levels really high. And it's really important to understand that if you're already stressed and then you're going to enter into an environment where you're further spiking those kind of cortisol levels, just allow yourself to have that debrief and allow that to come back down. So we often are always in a rush. We live life at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So we'll head into the gym, we get there last minute, we do a warm up, raise our heart rate, we do a really high intensity class, and then the next thing we're showering, we're changing, we're back to work, and we're back into the stress. If that is you, and you relate to that, and then you worry why you're suffering to sleep at night, why you are having absolute massive cravings, and I'm sure you can relate to that. You can kind of talk about that, but I think it's really important to choose your exercise wisely. So whilst I said earlier, any exercise is good at alleviating symptoms of stress, it's also important to understand that it can add sometimes it can have a negative effect to your stress. So just be wary of things like, I say HIIT.
Even different times of the day, aren't there studies that support that because your cortisol naturally, so this is your natural thing that gets you awake in the morning, it's really high in the morning, then throughout the day it drops to enable you to sleep and go to bed in the evening. The worst thing you could probably do if you're very highly stressed, I think, as Alice said, is probably do a HIIT workout on that evening if you are particularly stressed, because that will increase your levels. Maybe do it in the morning, or just pick a yoga that night or a walk.
Absolutely. So I think just choosing your exercise wisely and checking into how you feel. If you leave your HIIT class and you feel like, oh my god, I feel so stressed and my heart's racing, and then you're going to add caffeine or something into the mix as well, which I think we didn't talk about, but with caffeine.
That's all right.
We're going to touch on that.
Yeah.
So just be mindful, and maybe reduce the amount of, I'm not saying don't do HIIT at all, or don't do those kind of more high intensity styles of training, but just be wary that if you're doing that every single day, that's probably going to have a slightly impact on your stress levels if you're already feeling stressed.
It's like anything, if you don't listen to your body. So if you are particularly stressed and it's a crazy day and you are feeling like you need that cup of coffee. Now, I am not anti-coffee, I'm just throwing it out there. I do have a blog on my website about the pros and the cons, but you have to pick your days and your moments, and it's only going to cause more anxiety in some people, because some people are more predisposed to it. You've got to check what your genetics, your state of mind in that moment. Is this coffee going to leave you feeling even more kind of pumped and trigger your fight, flight or fight or flight response. We've also had a pretty long day. But do pick your moments wisely, and it's probably best not to have caffeine in the evening. Keep it maybe to 1 early on in the day if that's you, and at the moment you're working all kinds of hours. Just let your body unwind naturally throughout the day. You do not need to feel guilty if you are not exercising in the evening. It's actually really good if this works for you to unwind. Whereas if exercise is the only time you can do it in the evening, then pick your workouts, like Alice said, wisely, and keep hydrating. I'm going to keep saying drink water because we forget it. And also things like magnesium, iron, zinc, things are depleted when you get stressed because your body's burning so much more sometimes. You do need to be aware that your body's suffering. It's not natural to be stressed all the time. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in.
So we're going to wrap it up and say thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found this one helpful. Yeah, definitely. I think the reason why Rhea and I chose it, we were going to talk about something else, and actually we decided to talk about this because it's something that we keep coming into contact with. I couldn't tell you that in the last maybe 3 months, I haven't had one client that isn't suffering a little bit from stress, and that's impacting their day. So I think it's really important that you guys acknowledge that stress is normal, it happens, but let's find some ways to cope with it, and let's try and use this advice that we've just given to try and make smart decisions and hopefully combat your stress a little bit, or just make smart choices to try and tackle yours.
Because no, you're not alone. Alice and I get stressed nearly every other day as well. We ring each other on the phone, and we get it. It's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's wishing you a very happy rest of your week.
It's a Monday.
Have a stress-free week, I hope. Fingers crossed.
Sun is shining.
Try and implement some of these changes. And yeah, happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you soon.
Bye.